Shalom Habarim. Greetings and welcome. So, this is about self-mastery, mastering our lives and our good divine destiny, and specifically the map making or wise, accurate navigation and mapping and operating equation. Okay, so first of all, and generally speaking, the first step to self-mastery is that we have to clearly identify and comprehend what our actual real-time position within the cycles of life actually is. Now, how do you do this? Okay, it's actually very simple. There are about 9 different cycles of life that are relevant, most relevant to us that we are in at any given point in time. Listed from short to long, they are the daily period of 3 hours, 25 minutes, then the daily, so that's the daily period of the cycles of life, right? Of 3 hours, 25 minutes, then the 3-hour short lunar unit, then the 3-hour long lunar unit, then the annual health, life, and business cycle period of 52 days, and then the simple overall period of human life, right? And then we've got our soul personality to monitor. So there's 9 different cycles. Okay, ideally speaking, you would be utilizing a calendar that you have to make yourself, because there really isn't any calendar available that includes the necessary data, except if you live in one place basically for years on end and you have some design that's become a template. Here's the thing. This is a calendar page, right? This is an example from, February. Now, I'm going to explain to you what is going on here and why this is so important. So, what you have right here is in fact the following. This is a page for a day. This actually, interestingly enough, this page, it never had to be used more than this. A lot of times things work a lot better in life than we expect, okay? So here's what happened, okay? So I made this page once, right? Now, what this has is the date, the day, and now looking at this from short to long life cycles, right? You've got the short lunar units of 3 hours here. What this is actually the tides. High tide, low tide, low tide. So from 3:06 a.m. to 6:06 a.m. on that day, it was a neutral lunar unit because it was a 3.5-day negative long lunar unit from Friday, the 16th of February 2024 at 11:52 p.m. till Tuesday, right? The 20th of February 2024 at 11:52 a.m. And since this was on a Monday, this was within a 3.5-day negative long lunar unit, and there was also, since there was a high tide at 6:06 a.m. and 3 hours before a high tide, it's a positive short, right? Lunar unit. That positive short with that negative long equaled a 3-hour window of opportunity from 3:06 a.m. to 6:06 a.m. that was neutral in nature, where the energy that has a realistic sort of impact universally, locally on Earth, human, and life activity in this area of the world and around us at that time, based on the readings from a tide chart from the nearest maritime port where this data was from, showed us that in this area of operation, from 3:06 a.m. to 6:06 a.m., it's a neutral lunar short unit, or neutral short lunar unit. So the energy there was neither negative energetically feminine and resting, nor was it energetically male and masculine and life-giving and increasing. It was neutral. Then you can see there were even some double negatives here later, like from 9:33 to 12:33. So in that time, 3 hours before the low tide, at that time, it was literally like from 9:33 to 12:33 was double negative, double energetically feminine and resting energy in the earth, human, and life activity in the universe and the life environment around us in this area of the world at that time. Okay, so those are the short lunar units on that day. And then during the 3.5 day negative long lunar unit, right, that we see written about here, right, this was going on. Now, that was the short lunar units on that day. Then also, since this was a Monday, it would have been like in the AM, it was like D period, right? Early before noon, E period, afternoon, F period, late afternoon, G period, A period, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth, right? On that day, like C, D, E, F, G, wait a minute, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. So there's also the daily periods of the cycles of life on that day, on Monday, right? Okay. Let's see, and they go from A to G, and they're different every day. But let's just say we got the short lunar units here identified on that day. The long lunar unit identified for that day was still negative because it was within a 3.5 day negative. Okay. Then the next unit or the cycles of life was the fourth annual life cycle period, and that was from like 14th February to 6th of April. So in this particular time frame where this here is within, on that day, we were in the fourth annual life cycle period, where this one right here, this is like a 52-day segment here, whereof there are 7 a year, always starting on your birthday, right? Equaling about 365 days, and that's your annual life cycle. So in this annual life cycle period, there's a personal health and a business life cycle period. Personal health and business. In this time where it's particularly good for certain things in personal life, health life, and business life, so to say. Okay, then there's also something that was the simple overall period of human life. We could also write that here. And that will have been the 6th. Or was it? Hold on a second. Yes, yeah. In any case, there's a next life cycle period to check out, and that was the simple overall period of human life. Now, if I recall correctly, that was still the 6th, because I'm between age 35 and 42, and that's the 6th segment of 7 years from 0 to 144 years. Okay. And then I also have my soul personality on my mind. Okay. What I should, what I'm good at, what I should, what should increase, and what should be avoided, basically, in life. So now what you have is sort of like showing you how this sort of works, self-mastery works. This is a calendar page for a day, right? Now, ideally, and if you do this, the more you wisely work, the better everything works and the greater your rewards are and your health, wealth, standard increase is, right? And maintenance and increase is, the better everything is. So this is like, you've got a calendar page where I could see for this day, right? I know during this day, I knew that, all right, what's the reaction going to be to some action in this time frame here? Neutral. What's the reaction going to be to some action in this time frame here? Double negative. Okay. Like instead of a build-up, meltdown. Or in here, action stemming from a neutral energetic state, equaling in like kind of a neutral results, right? Why am I talking about this? Because what you're looking at there is data that show these are the short lunar units, right? The tides, based on a tide chart. Okay. I will explain why this stuff is important. Look, first I need to draw something. Hold on. One of the most important parts about self-mastery and living wisely and operating scientifically is knowing what life cycles you're in, and particularly also what lunar units you are currently in, that are actually going on right now. So here's why I say this. Now look, essentially what happens is, use this as an example, all right? Let's say, we could actually turn this around. So because of what's going on right now, we recently had a full moon, okay? So things had reached a certain peak right there, okay? Now what's happening is things are decreasing, and are like decreasing till the point of a new moon again, right? So what you have is from, for example, full moon to new moon, you actually have generally what's going on. If we set a certain vertical parameter limited, even like you can see here, there's a maximum standard energetic, like a volume or a state or a charge level that the energy that is always powering the universe was in, as visible by the full moon being at a maximum level, even at a full state right there. Then it gradually decreased and decreases to a new moon. Okay, now if we make this really tiny here, let's take the new moon right down here, okay? So we've got the new moon right here. And what happens is it gradually increases from a standard minimum amount to a standard maximum amount of being full, okay? Full. Then it decreases again to a standard minimum amount of being new. Then it increases again to a standard maximum amount of being full. Then it decreases again to a standard minimum amount of being new, or emptying out being new. Then it increases to a standard maximum amount of being full. And so on and so forth, etc., etc. Hallelujah, right? Okay. New, right? New. You get the picture of what's going on here. If we set a parameter vertically, so to say, standard minimum, energy, charge, or volume level in the universe, or this heavens and earth plane, and like earth, human, and life activity, and in the universe and the world around us, standard minimum level during the new moon, maximum standard like charge or volume or level reached right on the full moon, then decreasing again. So like here's plus positive buildup going on from new to full, and then here's negative decrease going on, generally speaking. If we look at the long part of that, although there were units within this that are both negative, then there's a positive, then there's a negative, then there's a positive, right? But so generally though, see, what we're doing is we're actually now being able to see, like if the universe had a dashboard and there were, like in an airplane in the front, there's a dashboard and there's these devices and instruments that show you levels of different things that are relevant to this operating system. The heavens are like that. So what you're at is, let's say right now, and so having this general overview of what goes on, right? Let's say right now, today, how do we know what's the energetic state and the level and all that the energy that powers the universe is in? Because look, creation, God's creation, is always being somehow basically positively, in terms of life-giving, energetically masculine energy powered. There's still creation, there's still that life force operating all the time, and it goes through cycles, it goes through phases that are all ordered. It goes through high, it reaches standard high degrees and standard low degrees. And standard high degrees, like I've showed you, visible by the lunar units. So now, okay, so like right now, for example, so it is the 13th of August, 2025, Wednesday evening, using the winter time and the true calculation of time all year round, being the winter time, it's 9:12 p.m. Okay. Now, we happen to have a calendar made with the lunar units identified. And so I'm going to show you this now. This is important mapping work that you have to do. Okay, I can see from my calendar here that I've made that shows me the lunar units, both negative and positive, of 3.5 days in length, that according to the data from the recent full moon, that was last Saturday in the evening, and since today is Wednesday, 9:55 a.m., actually, from Wednesday evening now, 10 p.m. approximately, till Saturday, 10 p. Hold on. Wednesday a.m., today in the a.m., till Saturday in the p.m. Right now, we're currently in a 3.5 day positive long lunar unit. Let's just, okay, to start with. Right now, okay? In other words, today, right now, on this day, right, we're in a 3.5 day positive long lunar unit that started like today, let's say earlier today, right? Now, I know this because of the dates of the most recent full moon and new moon, etc., right? And so should you. So like, okay, we've got, where did I have this again? Right. Wednesday, about shortly before 10 today, actually, in the a.m., until Saturday, till next Saturday, about 10 p.m., a little earlier than 10, we're still in a 3.5 day positive long lunar unit. Okay. Now, if we zoom out, where is it? So we're just at the drawing board. So like right now, today though, on this day, what is it? 13th of August, 25, Wednesday evening. Very, very, very just rough draft here. Don't worry about the details. I'm a perfectionist. I usually write a lot differently. Okay, just to show you though, this is educational. This is like at the drawing board. So right now, right, we actually had a full moon recently, and we're heading into a new on the 23rd of August. And on the 9th of August, we had a full moon. So now if we zoom out and look at this from afar, wisely and truly and safely and there clearly, since the 9th of August right now in the year 2025, when we had the most recent full moon, what's happening is that, generally speaking, right, as you can see here in this orderly sort of a representation, generally speaking, there is a negative tendency energetically, like a big negative tendency between 9th of August and the 23rd of August, because what happened is the moon was full and now it's emptying out to a new point. So generally what's happening is that we're in one of those phases like right here where the energy that powers the universe was at a standard maximum level of like volume, or kind of, okay, almost like there's always music playing, and the music that plays everywhere and everything was at a maximum level of volume. It's always playing there. It was at a level, right? And here now it's reaching a maximum. It's going from a maximum standard level to a minimum standard level. So what's happening is everything is on a decreasing, there's like a decreasing, a minusing, a negative energetically feminine, and tendentially, generally, a like sort of a decreasing tendency. So almost like things going away and refinement taking place thereby also. So now, look, why is this important? This is important because of the following fact. Like if you're trying to build a house since this last full moon and then like to this, let's say you had to build a house theoretically. Maybe it could be like a model, like a small one, just for fun, You would do that. You would start that on the new moon, literally, and then there would be a tendential, energetic, positive increase going on till that full moon. There was a maximum standard point reached. There's an increase going on. There's an upbuilding. Here then, maximum standard point reached, decreasing. So like, if we pay attention to this, it explains a lot of things to us. Now, mapping these lunar units out is important because of the following fact. Because essentially, by knowing what lunar units of the cycles of life, along with the other 6 other cycles, right? Remember, daily period, number 1, daily period of the cycles of life, short lunar unit of the cycles of life, the short lunar unit of 3 hours, the 3.5 day long lunar unit of the cycles of life, then the annual life cycle period of 52 days, then the simple overall period of human life, and your soul personality. That's 9 different ones. But the first and the second, or like the second and third, are the short and the long lunar units. Now looking at this, right, it explains a lot of things to us. We can coordinate our actions in our wise creative activity in life to be in harmony with the cycles of life, and particularly like in harmony with the lunar units, thereby harnessing all the divinely programmed and perfectly programmed available maximum energy for the right things. So what this translates into is this. Look, so let's say I invest money in the stock market during the right life cycle periods. Mind you, that also has to be preemptively identified. But generally speaking, so let's say you invest money in the stock market right here, right? Like let's say a minute after, or like definitely after. It has to be a little bit after the new moon. Like even if it's a couple minutes, that makes a difference, my friends. Listen, there are minute details in creation that make a difference. Like, let's say, an hour afterwards? It doesn't even have to be an hour. If you have the time and the date and the minute of the new moon figured out, I would say it has to be afterwards, because that will make it an effect how it, you throw something you put dumplings in water that's cooking at 100 degrees. That stuff is going to get cooked a certain way at a certain speed. You throw dumplings in the water that's at 0 degrees, that stuff is going to turn out way differently. And if the difference in the degrees is like within like a minute, I flip a switch, and in 1 minute, that goes from 0 to 100. If I throw that stuff in at 100, that's going to turn out affected by 100. If I throw that stuff in at 0, it's going to come out affected by 0. There's details here. Gotta be on time, right? So let's say I put money in the stock market, for example, theoretically, like right after the new moon. Do you realize that there's a building positive, energetically male and masculine increase going on in creation till the point of the next full moon, right? Then I pull it out right there, right before the full moon, not on the moment, but right before. Like, I don't know, an hour before or something, 2 hours, 3 hours before. I've just utilized this entire area here of positive increasing energy that was universally available. So then I pulled my money out. I got tons of increase and only increase between right here, right after the new moon, and right before the full moon. Then what I did is I got this massive increase here that took place, and I put that in on the next new moon, right after the new moon, right? And it all increased again till the next full moon. Right before the full moon, I pulled it all out again. And I got these two massive increases. The same thing applies to anything. Now, this thing about the lunar units, it's like the dashboard of the universe is like the heavens and the moon, showing us. The moon looks like it's like a meter that shows you, okay, the universal energy that's always generally like has a basic positive nature to it that is life and life eternal and life-giving. It goes through phases and it reaches like right now, for example, like I said, we're between a full moon that happened on the 9th and a new one that's happening on the 23rd in 10 days. So what's actually happening is that the energy that powers the universe right now is going through, it's in a state of a decrease since the recent full moon and just till the next new moon. It's in a state of a decrease. So now what happens is that a lot of things become possible